Today I'm delighted to introduce you to a performer, songwriter and record producer who has been in the music industry for almost 60 years, Roger Greenaway, OBE. Roger has been jointly responsible for a huge number of hit records, including these.
Something tells me something's gonna happen tonight.
You stay until tomorrow.
Something's gotten hold of my heart, keeping my soul and my senses apart.
When I wake up in the morning light, I pull on my jeans and I feel alright. I pull my blue jeans on, I pull my old blue jeans on.
Lovers of the world unite. You alone know what is right. A baby loves love and she's got what it takes, and she knows how to use it. My baby loves love. My baby loves love and she's got what it takes, and she knows how to use it. You got your troubles, I've got mine. You got your troubles, I've got mine. You got your troubles, I've got mine.
A very warm welcome from Perth, Western Australia, Roger, and sincere thanks for taking some of your valuable time today to share some of your experiences with us.
It's nice to be with you, Mike. The pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Born in Bristol in the UK, you started your musical career with a group that, nestled around your national service in the army, became the Kestrels. How did the group come about?
Well, I met Roger Maggs and Tony Burrows, who were because originally there were only three Kestrels. We met when I was transferred to a company called ES&A Robinson in Bristol. We were all training to be representatives, and all three of us, as everybody who started at that company would do, they were all posted at first to the postal department. And we used to, sorting the inside mail, the mail inside the company, we would sing together and harmonize, and we realized we had a reasonably good sound, and everybody else who was hearing us thought we were really good. So slowly but surely we developed into the Kestrels, and although we didn't call ourselves the Kestrels at the beginning, Mike, we actually called ourselves the Beltonaires. We became semi-professional and started doing a few clubs around Bristol. And then Roger Maggs, who was the leader of the group at the time, rang an old friend who he'd been at school with, a guy called Jeff Williams, to join the group. Jeff sang very high falsetto, and that's when we changed our name to the Kestrels. So the four Kestrels were born when Jeff Williams joined us.
Now, it wasn't too long before the Kestrels started to record for the Pie record label. How did the group get discovered by the label's artist and repertoire manager?
Well, we came second in a TV competition, which was basically the equivalent of today's X Factor.
Brilliant. It
was called Cara Levis Discoveries. And we were signed, because of that, to an independent label, which was run by a British lord, Lord Donegan. He heard us on that show, rang our manager and said he'd like to record us. And we made a small EP with him. But that EP was heard by somebody at Pie. I think it was a guy called Michael Barclay, who decided he liked the Kestrels and wanted to sign them to Pie.
Your debut single as the Kestrels, In the Chapel in the Moonlight, first recorded by Shepfields way back in 1936, was recorded on Pie in 1959 and came close to getting into the charts. Let's hear that very first release from the Kestrels.
How I'd love to hear the organ in the chapel in the moonlight as we're strolling down the aisle where roses and twine
We recorded In the Chapel in the Moonlight. It was our first single on Pi, as you rightly point out. And it almost did. In those days, we didn't have a top 50. Had we had a top 50, it probably would have made the charts, but it didn't. But it was probably the most successful record the Kestrels ever made then and ever since. But it was disappointing that it didn't make the charts, but it did get us an awful lot of TV work and radio work.
After a brief move to the Decca record label, you moved back to Pi Piccadilly and, although chart success eluded you at the time, I understand the group was very busy backing another Pi star, Lonnie Donegan. Did you continue to record as the Kestrels at this time? And did the lack of chart success cause professional frustration for you?
Yes, after Decca we did. We moved back to Pi Piccadilly to an A&R man called Ray Horrocks. Ray made a few singles with us. Again, they weren't very successful. We thought they were good, but they didn't make the charts. We used to get a lot of radio play, but we never actually, as you know, got into the charts. But yes, and Lonnie Donegan heard us, because he was on Pi as well, and invited us to work with him at the London Palladium, oddly enough.
Fantastic.
And then we made a whole album with Lonnie, backing him. And we did summer seasons with him in Blackpool for about 6 months. We worked with him in pantomime in Hull. And yes, we did an awful lot of work with Lonnie, both television and recording. The fact that the Kestrels didn't get any success chart-wise after making probably in excess of 16, maybe 17 singles was a little frustrating, I have to say. It felt that we were basically, we were getting lots of work, but we were not progressing in the sense that we weren't becoming stars, and that did rankle. It did rankle. I think it was one of the reasons eventually that we finally broke up.
In 1964, another singer, Roger Cook, with whom you later wrote so many huge hits, joined the Kestrels. I believe you were both born in the same area of Bristol. How well did you know Roger before he joined the group?
Well, Roger Cook was an old friend from Bristol. I remembered Roger from the days when we used to rehearse. He was in a group called the Sapphires, and we, obviously, the Kestrels, and they used to rehearse at the Colston Hall in Bristol. The manager there would allow us to rehearse on Saturday mornings. So I knew Roger from that. I also knew that he wrote songs. And when Tony Burrows finally decided to leave the Kestrels and record for Decca as a soloist, I rang Roger's manager in Bristol, because he was still working as a semi-pro, to ask him if he would care to join the Kestrels. And the answer came back that he would love to join, but he was working in pantomime at the time in Cardiff with Mike and Bernie Winters. So I had to wait about a month before he came up to London. He moved his whole family up to London, his wife and his child. And it took him less than a week to learn all the harmonies and work the group. And then we went out on to a tour with Herman's Hermits. That tour was going to last about 6 weeks. And on that tour, Roger and I realised that the Kestrels didn't have much of a longer life, that we were going to basically finish within about 3 to 4 months. That was decided already. And I felt really badly because I'd asked him to come up to London, and I felt badly because I didn't want to waste his time and, give him false hope. But anyway, I said to him, look, I've already got a contract. I was already signed to Mills Music at that time, and I'd had some success with a song called Everything in the Garden, which was recorded by Tony Hatch with Petula Clark and Jimmy Justice. With Petula Clark, it became an album track, and it was a single for Jimmy Justice. Again, it didn't make the charts, but it was my first chance of having a single out which I'd written. Anyway, I said to Roger, I've got this deal with Mills Music. If you want to write songs with me, let's write songs. And we were doing sessions. We were backing singers when we could on recording sessions. So I said to him, look, we can make a living for a while, and we can still do a few broadcasts. And Tony's album with Decca was being recorded, but Tony still said, I'll stay with you. We can still do sessions. So the three of us became session singers, and Roger and I started writing songs on that tour.
In 1965, you had your first hit with You've Got Your Troubles, recorded by the Fortunes, that shot to number 2 in the UK charts and had 10 weeks in the charts here in Perth, where it got to number 5. Can you tell us a little about how the composition was written and how it came to be offered to the Fortunes as their 5th release?
the very first song we wrote together was a song called You Got Your Troubles, I Got Mine, which we came back into town, made a demo of. We always made our demos in Regent Sound Studios in Denmark Street, the old Tin Pan Alley in England. And made the demo, went back onto the road, finished the tour, and then we had one more week in Cabaret in Manchester. We did that, then we came back to London, and the Kestrels were over. And from then on, we were going to be session singers and write songs together. Our publisher at Mills Music, a man called Cyril G, asked us to come on in, and because he had something he wanted to play us. And of course, it was the Fortunes recording of You Got Your Troubles. I loved the record. I thought they made a great record of it, but I didn't show too much happiness on my face. And the publisher said to me, "You don't seem too happy. What's the problem?" And I said, "Well, I thought you were going to play us something by the Supremes or a major act." I'd never heard of the Fortunes. And he said, "Don't worry, this is going to be a hit." And of course it was. The problem then was it went into the charts at number 28. There was a top 30 then. And went out the very next week. So our hearts sank. We thought, that's it, the end of our careers. No more hits for Greenaway and Cook. But luckily for us, Tony Hiller, who was the plugger or a songwriter himself, who was the plugger at Muse Music, really went out, plugged the record really hard, and it got back into the charts, and as you know, went up to number 2 in the charts.
We'll hear the song by the Fortunes a bit later in the programme. After that huge hit, Roger Cook and yourself decided to record again, this time under the names David and Jonathan. The first recording, Laughing Fit to Cry, didn't chart, but your cover of a song from a Beatles album became a huge hit for you both, getting to number 11 in the UK chart and even higher at number 7 in the Perth chart. The song was Michelle. Was it a difficult decision to record a song not composed by you, given your song for the Fortunes had such success?
Actually, no, it really wasn't a problem recording Michelle. After all, it's a Beatles song, even though we were having hits as writers ourselves. But basically, David and Jonathan came about because George Martin, the Beatles producer, had heard our demo of You Got Your Troubles. And he loved it so much, he rang the publisher, and Cyril G, and asked if he could meet us. So we went to meet George, and he said he loved the song, but what he liked most was the sound we made. And would we record for him? And of course we said he's a Pope Catholic, and of course we ended up recording for him. And yes, Michelle was off one of the Beatles albums, and he was sure it was a hit. So it did give us our first hit as David and Jonathan. The name David and Jonathan actually is a biblical name. George's wife, Judy, was an avid Christian and said, "I think you should be called David and Jonathan." So that's how the name came about. But yes, we got to number 11 in the British charts and about, I think, at number 4 or 5 in the American charts. Number 1 in UK was by a group called the Overlanders. And Overlanders, after getting... The problem was in those days that if you got a number 1 with a Beatles record, you generally faded away completely. You didn't get another one. So we were kind of happy just to get a hit with Michelle because it put us on the map and not to go to number 1.
Michelle, my belle, these are words that go together well. My Michelle, Michelle, ma belle, sont les mots qui vont très bien ensemble, très bien ensemble. I love you, I love you, I love you. That's all I want to say. Until I find a way, I will say the only words I know that you'll understand. Michelle, ma belle, sont les mots qui vont très bien ensemble, très bien ensemble. I need to, I need to, I need to, I need to make you see what you mean to me. Until I do, I'm hoping you will know what I mean. I love you. think you know by now. I'll get to you somehow. Until I do, I'm telling you so you'll understand. Michel, ma belle, sont les mots qui vont très bien ensemble, très bien ensemble. I will say the only words I know so you'll understand, my Michel.
Michel, written by Lennon and McCartney and sung there by David and Jonathan, David being our guest today, Roger Greenaway. After an even bigger hit, Lovers of the World Unite, you recorded Softly Whispering I Love You in 1967 that wasn't a success for you, although it became a number 4 hit for Congregation in 1971. I personally liked your version better, as for me the style fitted the lyrics better. Any thoughts as to why one version was such a big hit and the other one wasn't?
Yes, well, after Michel, we had written Lovers of the World Unite, and as always, we made our demo in Denmark Street and took it to George. George wasn't sure it was a hit. We were sure it was, so he said, look, we'll record it, I'll bear with you. And, of course, that was David and Jonathan's second hit.
Brilliant.
Sadly, it wasn't a hit in America, but it was a hit here, and we had our second hit. And by then, of course, David and Jonathan was going out on the road, and we were doing gigs and clubs and tours. As for Softly Whispering I Love You, which you rightly point out, we did record in 1967, it was a song that I was sure was a hit, but it wasn't a hit with us. I mean, we had a small hit in America with Softly Whispering I Love You in LA. Did a lot of sales in LA, probably did about 70,000 records in the Los Angeles market, but it didn't do well anywhere else. I so believed in the song that of course, after David and Jonathan had finished, because this is when the Congregation record happened, I was working at Air, running their publishing and running our publishing, Greenaway, and I really believed that Whispering I Love You was a hit. So I played it to John Burgess, who was one of the producers at Air London, the company I was then working for, and he believed it was a hit too. It's a good story because he took it in and he did it with a Joe Cocker type voice, a guy called Brian Keith, and the song was recorded, and I was not on the session. I waited for a couple of days, and then I went in to see John, and I said, "How did Softly turn out?" And he said, it was okay, but I don't think really that it's a hit with a solo singer. So a couple of weeks go by, and I went back and I said, have you thought any more about Softly Whispering I Love You? He said, well, as a matter of fact, I have. I think it might be good if we could get a guitar, an instrumental version of it. So he got Alan Parker, who was in Blue Mink, the great guitar player, to come and do a guitar version of it. A couple of days later, I go into the office and he plays it to me, and he said, that sounds good, but you're right, it doesn't sound like a hit. So it's not a hit. It's a hit song, Roger, but it's not a hit yet. And then about another month went by, and John received a demo tape of an amateur Welsh choir, which he loved. And he thought, maybe I should put a choir on Softly Whispering I Love You, which he did. And again, the next day, I go into the office and I said, how did it turn out? And he said it was good, but it's not a hit. And I thought, well, that's the end of it. It's never going to get cut again. I'll have to forget the song. And about a month goes by, and John was in the studios producing a record with Jeff Emerick, who was the engineer on all the Beatles records, working with George. And he said to Jeff, just run me off a copy of Softly Whispering I Love You. And Jeff ran off the 24 track, and of course he had the voice, the guitar and the choir all in at the same time. And John said, that's it. I think I should mix it with the guitar, the voice and the choir. And that's what he did. And then he played it to me a couple of days later, and I said, now you got a hit. And of course it was a hit.
Brilliant.
By the English Congregation. It was recorded in America too, and it was a hit for the Mike Perth congregation.
Let's give our listeners a chance to hear both versions, Roger. This edit starts with the version by David and Jonathan, then segues into the 1971 version by Congregation.
Softly whispering I love you. Echoes of your voice are calling still through my dreams, softening the chill of the breeze through my window. I can see the moon glow, painting silver shadows on a rose-colored land. A world that we walked hand in hand in a day ago, colored by the glow of you, love. I can feel your warm face ever close to my lips, and the scent of you invades the cool evening air. I can close my eyes and you're there in my arms still, and I know your soft kiss turning into music every beat of my heart. When I hold you close to my heart and I hear your voice whispering I love you. I can feel your warm face ever close to my lips, and the scent of you invades the cool evening air. I can close my eyes and you're there in my arms still, and I know your soft kiss keeps turning in music every little beat of my heart. When I hold you close to my heart, I hear your voice. I love you. I can feel your warm face ever close to my lips, and the scent of you invades my every cell. I close my eyes and you're there with me, my arm, baby, and I know your soft kiss keeps turning into music every beat of my heart. Oh yeah, when I'm holding you close to my heart.
Softly Whispering I Love You from David and Jonathan and the Congregation. After this song, I understand you decided to concentrate on composing rather than performing. What led to this decision?
Yes, by then, Mike, we were concentrating on writing full-time, basically, although Roger Cook was still interested in performing. And I was very, very busy, not just writing songs, but producing songs and running the publishing company. By then, of course, we had Cookaway, and I was running Cookaway Music and working with the Air London publishing company, Maribus Music. So, and I actually had enough of being on the road. I really wanted to stay home now. And I had a family and I wanted to spend more time with them.
Yes.
So that was basically why the decision was made.
The concentration on composing led to some truly wonderful songs, some of which have been recorded by quite a number of artists. In late 1967, Gene Pitney had a UK number 5 hit with a great song, Something's Gotten Hold of My Heart. For me, the song fits Gene's style totally. As a composer, how much do you have to take into account a singer's style if a song has a singer in mind, at its conception, of course?
Yeah, Something Gotten Hold of My Heart by Gene Pitney. That was a really big hit for us. And an even bigger hit, by the way, later on when Mark Almond recorded it and used Gene on the record as well. It became number 1 both in the UK and throughout Europe.
Fantastic.
But the Gene Pitney version came about because I played the song to Gene's producer, and he loved it. Gene was in America at the time. And it wasn't written for Gene, no, basically. It was written, we always wrote songs for ourselves. And we're just amazed when other people wanted to record them. Anyway, Gene heard the song, loved the song, went into studios in America. He went in 3 times to record it, and eventually rang Jerry Braun, who was a producer, and said, "Look, Jerry, I just cannot get the feel on my recordings that the boys had on their demo. Is there any possibility that they could give me their demo, and I can put strings and voices on top?" And of course, Jerry rang us, and I said, "Of course you can have our demo." So we gave him basically our 8-track, which he sent to America, and back came the version with Gene Pitner's voice, some strings, and some voices on it. We were amazed, that it would work like that, but it did. And of course, the rest is history, and it was a big hit.
Something's gotten hold of my heart, keeping my soul and my senses apart. Something's gotten into my life, cutting its way through my dreams like a knife, turning me up, turning me down, making me smile and making me frown. In a world that was small, I once lived in a time that was peace with no trouble at all. But then you came my way, and a feeling unknown shook my heart, made me want you to stay. All of my nights and all of my days. Yeah, I gotta tell you now, something's gotten hold of my hand, dragging my soul to a beautiful land. Now something has invaded my night, painting my sleep with the colors so bright, changing the gray, changing the blue, scarlet for me and scarlet